What up, though?
Welcome to Woman Crush Every Day, where we discuss queer media, especially when it is black and especially when it is woman. I'm your host, Tang B, aka Sean B. Scribe.
And I'm your host, Allison, aka Al Woo.
Today we are going to discuss Ashley Banks from Bel-Air, but first...
Subscribe if you're not already tuned in to the channel and tapped in with us to get this weekly content where we talk about representations of queer black women in media. You should be here and join us and participate. So yeah, subscribe.
Yes. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and all of that. So let's jump into it. We are going to not talk about the whole series of Bel-Air, which is the reboot of The Fresh Prince. Not that it's not great, but it just doesn't all have to do with black queer women, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
But we are going to talk about a potentially black, well, she's all the way black, but
She
potentially
a black queer
character, who is Ashley Banks, formerly played by Tatiana Ali, now in the reprise by Akira Akbar, who's just a little cutie. And what she goes through on the show as far as coming into understanding more about her own sexuality.
Yes, yeah. So, we do spoilers, y'all. So we're going to talk about the season. We're going to talk about things that happen in all of these episodes. So if you haven't seen it, it's on Peacock. And watch it. I mean, I don't remember. Yeah. I think the monthly subscription is like...
It's $5 a month.
$5.
It's not bad.
So it's really not crazy. And my brother told me that Peacock comes with his, internet subscription, too. Awesome. So maybe you might even have a free...
bundle
Peacock hookup, and you might not even realize you have it. So check it out if you haven't seen the show. Yeah. So I absolutely recommend. And I think just talking about the reboot overall, I've seen things floating around the internet that are like, I hate the reboot. This family is dysfunctional. All sorts of things. And I don't know. Having watched the original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air
and loved it.
Thought it was a great show. Yeah. And then watching Bel-Air, I'm like, this is a solid show.
Good, yeah.
It's very different, but I still feel
very
like
different.
This is not a family of dysfunction. This is a family. Yeah.
This is a family.
This is a rich-ass family.
Yeah. And every family comes with issues. And I don't think we watch shows because nothing happens and people don't have places to grow. Right. I think we watch them because we want to see characters grow and change and come to new realizations. And I feel like Bel-Air does a great job. And it's not a sitcom. And The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was a sitcom. It was about these, after school special moments of, teaching Will how to, become more of himself. And I feel like Bel-Air is about that, but not with a laugh track. It's no, this is about, life. And it can be fun. And it can be, lighthearted, but it's also very serious. It's a dramatic show, and it gives you the real.
Yes.
And
I'm with it.
Yeah, I liked
it. And really, when I saw that we had the potential for Ashley to be, to identify as queer on the show, it's let's talk about it. And also in response to, like I said, the things that were floating around the internet where people that were calling this dysfunctional, I was like, we have to talk about Ashley's representation as a 12-year-old who, is curious about her sexuality. Yeah. So,
and people's general discomfort with preteens having sexualities, but especially when those sexualities are queer, because I don't think we have as much of an issue with somebody who's 11, 12, 13 having a crush when it is an opposite sex attraction. But when it becomes same sex attraction, then it's like, oh, they're too young. And we need to talk about
that. So I'm really excited to get into Ashley from Bel-Air. Yes. So with that, favorite scene.
My favorite scene was actually when they were throwing a party at the house, and Ashley had invited her friends, one of whom was Lucia, her crush, and this boy. And so the boy and Lucia and Ashley are playing at, their little game council thing that they have, their little arcade set up. And the boy is like, I'll go get y'all those drinks. Or really, Ashley sends him to go get the drinks so that she can have a moment alone with Lucia. And Lucia immediately starts talking about, you know, how dorky the boy is and all of that. But then it's like, oh, well, you know, dorks can be cute. You're cute. Or you're a dork. She says, you're a dork. And Ashley, you can see, like, she's like, this is my moment to make a move, to let her know, like, I like her, I'm interested, I think she's showing me she might be interested. Was that a flirtation? Like, and just that moment of excitement when you realize, like, I have a moment with somebody, and maybe I can take this an inch further. You know, maybe I can find out just a little bit more, and that excitement just, you know, made me flutter. It didn't end well, but
it was a quick turn of events right after that. Yeah. But it was cute. It was definitely really cute. Was cute. I have to say, yeah, my favorite scene was really the scene where Ashley came out to Hillary. Yeah. Just because I feel like that was just classically so beautiful. Yeah, really, it was like a moment of, you know, sisters being vulnerable with each other. I remember coming out to my sister, my older sister, and it's like how your big sister responds means so much, you know, because it's like, especially when your big sister is straight, you know. So it's like, oh gosh. But I don't know, that was just like a beautiful moment to see that Hillary assumed, like, you can trust me, and I'm so glad that you trusted me because I love you no matter what. And I'm gonna ride for you no matter what. And I just love that. That was so beautiful.
That took me back to coming out to my sister. She was the first person I told. Yeah. Outside of my therapist. And thank you, big sis, for making me feel like I could talk to you. Yeah. That's such a beautiful moment at such a point, because Ashley really hasn't told anybody else. Mm-hmm. Jeffrey knows because he knows everything.
He's a snooping ass, but yeah.
But yeah, that's who she chose, and I think that says a lot about their relationship and the trust that they have and the safety that she feels there. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So I think we know who our woman crush is, and not in a creepy way, because Ashley's like 12 and
no sickness. This is a child. We're not interested in children here.
But what was the moment that you was most crushable, most admirable about Ashley?
I think Ashley's like cool qualities are, I mean, she's bold. You know, I think there is. Wait. I don't want to leave it at that. I think I kind of like crush on the nerdiness of Ashley. Yeah. More than anything, because I think as somewhat of a nerd myself, you know, it's like she gets into her tech bag. Yeah. She gets into her game bag. You know what I mean?
She's about her environmental stuff.
Yeah. You know? Like she's really about her causes. Yeah. She's really about her causes. And that I love.
Yeah, it's really, I do love that, you know, she has these interests, and that's what even brought her into this friend group. My favorite, I think, Ashley admirable moment was after Lucia let her down, and she went and talked to Hillary and was like, you know, I told them that whatever happened so that they would go, but really I didn't think I could keep it together for the rest of the time and entertain them. And I thought to know that about yourself and to say that and to admit that was so vulnerable and self-aware and boss, to just be like, I don't want to even deal with this right now. And I have to tell somebody I'm not in the place to deal with it. And then still turned around and gave Hillary advice about following her dreams and sticking with it. Yes. Like, still could come out of herself and say, like, and I'm not the only one that matters in this moment. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, Ashley Banks, you are a future boss bitch. I love it.
Totally. I love that too. That's really great. So, what can stay and what can go?
I'm gonna start with what can go. Lucia can go, cause if you ain't about it, bye. You crushing on free somebody yourself.
Like go ahead and free yourself. First like of all, the Will great Fantasia told us.
Way older than you. He not thinking about you, and if he were, he'd be a creep. So he would be ineligible. So you don't even see greatness right in front of you. Bye, Lucia. I'm sure you will find, a pretty brown Ashley for next season.
Yes.
That's the only thing that can go. I think for me, what can stay is just the support from Hillary and Jeffrey. I love that Jeffrey is still protecting Ashley, but respecting her boundaries and still saying, like, even though it's my job to be all up in your business, it's not necessarily my job to tell everybody your business unnecessarily. That's for you to do, unless you're in danger, unless something is happening, So I love that Jeffrey, just did her a solid. Like, I'm going to pick you up. We're going to keep this between us and not on some creep stuff.
Yeah.
And I love that Hillary is just, ready to be there, like excited to play big sister.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I'll start with what can go.
Okay.
2, since you did that. I think one of the things I wrote this down, and I'm like, this could be a little bit. I don't know how I feel about it, but I think I like that Ashley is queer.
Yeah.
I like that the writers, producers, everybody's like, okay, cool, let's include a queer character in the family, and because that's normal. It's not crazy.
It's part of what happens in families.
In so many families, you know what I mean? So leave it alone. But then I also feel like they take a part of her sexuality away by making the queer character a child. And what do I mean by that? I mean, like, if Hillary's character was gay, that would, like, repaint everything about this show. Like, whoa, we have this adult lesbian who is out here getting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but to say, like, I mean, she's a child. We're not going to sexualize a child, and we shouldn't. I'm not interested in sexualizing a child. But I'm saying, like, that's what you did with the character. It's like you asexualize her because it's like, okay, she's gay, but she's not having sex with anybody, so it kind of doesn't really matter. It's not really a thing, I think, in the show, in a way that I would like to. I maybe want it shaken up a little bit more. Like, let's really, like, talk about what it means, or the struggles that come along with being wealthy, the daughter of a DA or a future DA. You know what I mean? Somebody who's running for a political role, who's gay, and their child is, like, in a queer relationship. Like, what sort of political problems does that pose versus a child, so I don't know if it serves very, like, future auntie trope and not, like, future mother. I'm like, I feel like Ashley's identity, I don't know if y'all are feeling me or if you're even understanding where I'm going with this, but I just feel like because she's a child, she has a sexuality, and we know that, kids have feelings and crushes, but because she's a child, it doesn't count the same way, like, and we're not going to show that because that's gross now. So, like, I don't know. Am I making sense? Does that make sense?
I think if what you're saying is, like, by putting this queer identity on a character who is so young, it just limits what you're able to say about the conversation.
Yes, I think in ways, yes, and then yes.
So I want to say that I feel like, yes, I agree with that in some ways, but in other ways, I feel like it opens this conversation up that we don't typically get to have. So, like, in the L Word, we have Bet's daughter, Angie, who is this queer teen with a queer mom, and that's a whole conversation. And then I feel like on, like, All American, we have Snoop, who is, a queer teen with an unaccepting mom and still is having, like, this whole queer experience. But here I feel like it is I think that we do have to have this conversation about the coming of age that happens not from, like, teen to college, but from, like, middle to high school, of, like, actually you start coming into your sexuality right here, and what does that look like? And what does that look like in 2022 when Ashley still doesn't feel comfortable to even tell her family that she's having these feelings? I think it takes it a step back to a conversation where it's not about sex. And I think so much of when we talk about queer characters and so much of societal pushback is like, oh, it's all about sex. It's all about it. Who cares what's happening in the bedroom? But for Ashley, I'm like, this is pre-bedroom. This is just like, I want to sit next to you and play games.
I'm going to give you, I
necessary to me.
Facts on facts on facts. Facts on facts on facts. I agree. I still feel like when you make it a child, when you make this queer character a child, for people, it's just like, we can't look at that as like, what am I trying? I don't even know what I'm trying to say, so I'm actually not even going to continue, because I think you made a great point, but I'm still standing behind, like, character. I mean, like, to say we're going to make the child this character, it's like, I think from a writer-producer standpoint, it's like you can include a queer character without necessarily including queer problems. And it's like to say, like, hey, yeah, nod to the LGBTQ community, but, I mean, and maybe Ashley isn't gay. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know beyond this season. Yeah, we still don't know.
Yeah, she just has only had a crush
and that's,
on a girl. And
that's where I'm saying,
I had plenty of crushes that didn't come to fruition.
And I think that's really where I'm leaning into. I'm like, where are we coming from with making Ashley's character gay, and she's not, like, gay for real? Like, she's still like,
she doesn't even know.
I don't know yet, you know. But it's like, you still are able to bring in the queer audience. You're still able to, you know, like, affirm so many people without actually affirming them. And I think that's where I feel like that can go. I wish it to a degree that Ashley's character, maybe this is what I wish could go, that there's not this identity in flux.
It can be queer baity, and you know,
that's
what
really
I was gonna say about the canon. Was
it.
Like, is this queer bait? Because we end the season with Ashley having, you know, let her sister know that she has a crush on a girl, almost told the girl she has a crush, saw it wasn't going to work out. Didn't tell the girl. Didn't tell anybody. So only Ashley and Jeffrey know, and they could easily come back with another season and this not even get picked up again, which is what happens with so many queer characters on shows. Is like, they're gay for season 1 to get us there, and then after that it's like, boys, boys, boys.
And I think that is exactly where I am with what I feel like can go, is that we picked a character who really doesn't have a sexual identity. It's a child. You're like, this is a kid. So no, I'm not looking
or
to this
a fully
kid.
developed sexual identity.
Yes. So I don't know. In ways, it's like, I'm glad that she's there and that she represents that, because we all know that people that are 12 have feelings, have romantic feelings,
crushes.
Have like crushes. Yeah, want to
sexual feelings.
Come on, girl. I didn't want to say it, but
12 years old. 12-year-old Shantae had
kids is nasty.
Knew exactly what I wanted to do. Maybe not how to do it.
and yeah, we if you are older than 12, you've been 12 before. You know, and watching the show.
And maybe you were a 12-year-old who wasn't thinking about that. But I think developmentally it is not abnormal for a kid to have sexual feelings, curiosities, and crushes.
That's all I'm saying. So I'm glad that, I know it was a little bit of a roundabout to get there, but that's what I feel like, I don't know, I'm in flux about. I never really talked about what I feel like can stay, and I just think, I do think that it's really dope to have a spinoff of a show and to push these boundaries and to include LGBTQ themes and issues. You know what I'm saying? So that can stay. I think that's beautiful. I hope that it does stay. I hope that it isn't just season 1 where we go into this and we're done. Yeah. But what does it mean for Ashley's sexuality, her bisexuality, or wherever she is on the spectrum? Yeah. You know, how does that impact the future for the Banks family.
And I'll say my prediction is it will stay, and I predict that because of who else they brought into the show. So Hillary is in this influencer house, and one of the people in this house is this sex educator who is all about sexual liberation. And, you know, part of it is a plant to talk about what's happening with Hillary and her decisions about her brand and how she's presenting her body and her sexuality. But another reason is to like have this plant for Ashley's character to have somebody who is an adult or adult-ish to bounce and knowledgeable to bounce these ideas about what sexuality is, and that this like queer sex educator pretty much gave Ashley the advice that you don't have to decide or know anything at all right now. Just be. That's really fine. That's good enough. Which, so that makes me think that there are, at least in this season, writers on the show who are very intentional about how they want to set up character development. So I hope it will continue. But I also feel like that sex educator said, like, you might be in The Boys next year. Who knows?
Yeah.
And we'll have to ride that wave with you and, you know, just be sitting here, you know, flipping for the next representation of ourselves.
There we go. All right. So next, queer canon. Where does this fit in the queer canon for you?
I mean, I do think it is really important to talk about preteen sexuality and not just on like Degrassi, because Degrassi, I think, presents it like real messy, like kids out here sneaking around doing everything they want to do. But I think there are kids who are like, I'm not trying to turn up. I'm not trying to really sneak around. I'm not trying to do, you know, bad things. I just am curious about myself and about the people around me. And I think it's important to have this like little innocent Ashley who just has a heart for the world and gaming and a little girl crush. And so I think that's important. But more than that, I think what's important is the reaction of everybody around her on the show. And I think shows are the way that we teach the world another way of being. I don't think shows are like, this is how you have to be and how you have to act. But I think it gives people another way of being that maybe they wouldn't have from the immediate people around them. And I think the way that Hillary has reacted, the way that Jeffrey has reacted, the way I predict her parents will likely react are going to teach some other family, hopefully, a way that they can react if their child says this or if they sense this about their child. And that makes me hopeful, because that means that hopefully for the next generation, for the generation that's now, there is an easier way to come into the world. And I also think it's really important that Ashley still knows a part of the world that she's in that says, if I'm not sure, I shouldn't share this. This is not something that when you tell people, they change your mind about. I think there's some sense of that, because there's something saying to her, like, I'm not going to bring this to the rest of my family. And I think that's important to identify too, that while the world is getting safer and while we have a television show that lets a 12-year-old explore a 12-year-old black girl explore her sexuality. First of all, 12-year-old black girls don't get to have sexuality. They either get to be told they're fast or they are totally absent of any sexuality. Identity, yeah. And I'm so happy to come into a world where a show says, no, a little black girl also gets to own her identity. And she can still be insecure, and she can still have all these things going on that a little black girl is allowed to have. So I think all of that is an important part of the queer canon.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think just her sheer representation as a young person is spot on. Listening to you, it made me think about what this does for like parents too, I think, in terms of seeing this show. Because I feel like I come from a family that's like, this is like their performance politics. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is right? How do you get to heaven? You know what I'm saying? Like, to have a mom and dad in the household, that was believed to be like to help deter homosexuality. You know what I'm saying? To demonstrate love and things like that. And it's like to show, you know, like I think there are a lot of heterosexual parents who feel like representations of heteronormativity around my child will ensure that my child is straight. It's when my child is exposed to queer stuff that my child becomes gay. And I think to some degree, I hope that what this show does for parents, I think for some parents, it will allow them to see like, okay, because I mean, okay, I want to go to the references or the examples that Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil show. You know, it's like they are loving and they demonstrate their love in the show in a very openly. I think the kids of the family feel that their parents love each other. Yeah. I don't think that that's missed. So I think that if there are parents who feel like demonstrating heteronormativity for their children is something that will make their child straight, I hope that this is a wake-up call. that like no, you can be in a beautiful black love heteronormative relationship and still have a queer kid. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that you were fucking up the whole time.
No. And they're still learning love from you. Exactly. They are going to apply that to whatever relationship they get in. They're still learning.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, where does this fit in the queer canon? I think about, I hope that this eases like relationships and understanding for parents of queer kids to be like, you know, it's not about something that we did wrong, because what in the fuck did the Banks family do wrong? You know what I mean? Like,
they're trying to do everything of like
right. presentations of how to get it done and what to do. I mean, these are stand up people. Yeah. Overall, like they killing it. So, there's that. I also think I do love how the show just gives voice to gay black youth. Period. Yes. You know, gay black youth have existed. This did not start in the 90s. This did not start just a hot second ago. This has always been around. So just sheer giving voice to a person who's not having sex. Yes. A person who's not even there
not
yet.
Not even kissing.
And to say like, yeah, we exist. And it's not about that yet. It's really about just how I feel and vibing with a person and like how they make me feel. Yeah. I love that. And I hope that seeing this, I think seeing these representations on TV just help. Yeah. Like why we do the show, because it helps in real life. And I hope that, as we continue to give voice to gay black youth, that these representations, I don't know. We need to exist because we've been existing, and if you want us to continue to exist and like us to not kill ourselves and these types of things, like we have to see ourselves. We have to see ourselves like living and happy and like all sorts of things. So
and not just on teen shows. Yeah, you know, it can't just be shows that are geared towards teens. This is a show that's geared toward family. You know, in a way, I think it's younger families for sure. Yeah. But this is something that's like you can discuss this across the gamut within your family. You know, 12-year-olds can watch this and have a conversation with the 42-year-old in the room. And that's so important. That's so important. That's what TV was made for. Bring us all together around a story. You know, that's what radio was made for. That's what media was made for, was bringing people together around a story. And I love any story that, you know, brings queer people into the conversation with everybody.
I love it. I love it. And I'm really excited for season 2 of Bel-Air.
Has it been confirmed?
There has to be a season 2. This show was really good.
That's what I think.
I mean, I don't know that it's been confirmed, but I do feel like
before.
And this is also Will Smith. I feel like Will Smith already
he gonna make it happen.
We already paid for 3 seasons at minimum. Like, stop playing with us.
Actually, we've written Ashley at 21. Yeah, like we've got that season ready to go.
So I don't know, but good stuff. But that's our character review of Ashley Banks in Bel-Air on Peacock. So if you haven't watched it, watch it.
Let us know what you think. Let us know who your other favorite preteen queer characters are, if they're out there. You know, I know there are many on shows. So, let us know who else y'all are following.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
All right. Well, until next time, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.